Hello everyone, my name is Mai Nguyen from Aussizz Group in Perth. Today, the topic we want to talk about to you is TRA PSA and Job Ready Program. So, let's say for provisional skills assessment, for students who are studying commercial cookery, carpentry, automotive, early childhood education and care, you need to be fully aware of what is required of you in order for you to progress towards applying for your graduate visa. And I think that you want to apply for your graduate visa later on when you finish your studies, because then you'll be able to stay back in Australia to be able to work full time and stay back for 18 months. Okay, so for students who are studying commercial cookery, you can apply to Trades Recognition Australia for your provisional skills assessment once you've completed Certificate 4 in commercial cookery. Okay, so you do not have to wait to complete the Diploma of Hospitality and Management. So if you've done Certificate 3 in commercial cookery and then just completed the Certificate 4 in commercial cookery, you have every right to then apply to Trades Recognition Australia or TRA for the provisional skills assessment to get it out of the way, because generally it will take around 90 days for them to process the application online and going through all the documents, and then eventually they will they'll issue you with the TRA PSA outcome letter, which is what you need to apply for your graduate visa later on. So that's for commercial cookery students. For students who are studying early childhood, so you have to complete all the courses required of the 2 years. Certificate 3 in early childhood education and care, and the Diploma of Early Childhood Education and Care. And that would take you to 2 years. Then only then can you then apply to, before it was TRA, but now it's through ASECA. So you'll have to go through ASECA, and if you need any assistance, please do come and see me. I'm here to help you with that, because it can get a bit tricky with the new changes from TRA to ASECA. Okay, now be careful with those students who, you guys are studying automotive, so you did Certificate 3 and then progressed up to the Diploma of Automotive. While you're studying at TAFE or at another international colleges that offer that course, they do not help you to get for you to have 360 hours of paid pay slips. Okay, so you need to find, while you're studying, you need to find paid employment outside of your school or your college that you're studying at. So you need to clock up at least 360 hours, then you'll meet the requirement to apply to get your provisional skills assessment. So be careful about that. Same goes with carpentry, carpentry students doing Certificate 3 in carpentry. So for the process of, let's say, to apply for the provisional skills assessment at TRA, for instance, for commercial cookery students, you need to provide all your academic transcripts, your completion letter, and also your qualification certificates, okay, plus your paid slips. So if you're studying commercial cookery, then the college or TAFE, if you're studying at TAFE or the international colleges out there, they could offer you up to 200 hours of work-based training, and TRA would still recognize that. So you only need to clock up 160 hours left of pay slips to show for it. So 200 plus 160 hours altogether would give you 360 hours that you would need to show at least to TRA. And then for commercial cookery students, you'll need to get an employment letter from your employer, the restaurant where you're working at, to confirm that you're working there or you had worked there. So some students had worked there and for about a year or so or less, and they've clocked up some hours, or at least 360 hours, but they've left that premises. That's still fine. You just need to go back to that employer and ask from them an employment letter to confirm that you've worked for them since when. So the important date would be commencement date, okay? And if you're currently working there, then it can show just the commencement date and till current, okay? And so in that employment letter, be careful, you need to mention in bullet points the duties, the responsibilities that you've performed as a cook or a chef. So while you're studying commercial cookery, you do not necessarily have to show proof that you are working anywhere as a chef. It's still perfectly fine if you're employed as a cook, Okay, so don't worry about asking the employer to put you as a chef, and you do not need to show it in your payslips. So payslips are generally just confirming the number of hours you worked, the number of superannuation you receive, and how much you're getting paid, that kind of thing, in a normal standard payslip that you can see. You do not necessarily have to show on the payslip itself that your position there at the company or the business as a cook or a chef or something. It should be just leave it blank, okay? The important is the employment letter that TRA will be looking at to ensure that you had worked at that business, at that restaurant or cafe, in the position as a cook or a chef, okay? So as long as you provide payslips, you provide the employment letter, the academic transcripts and the completion letter, then you're pretty much safe to progress towards receiving sooner or later the provisional skills assessment outcome letter from TRA, and it could take up to 90 days. All right, so the whole aim, in order for you to get this provisional skills assessment, is for you to then to progress later on, that when you're ready to apply for your graduate visa, the temporary graduate visa subclass 485, you have that outcome letter, successful outcome letter, for them to TRA to confirm that they consider you as a chef. Then that's perfectly fine for you to progress to apply for your graduate visa. Now, with a graduate visa, this is when it occurs that before your student visa expires, then you've just completed your studies, then you need to lodge the graduate visa application anytime before the expiry date of the student visa, okay? Now, I can talk to you about certain instances where some students may not be ready to apply for their graduate visa just because they haven't reached the right score for IELTS or PTE. So if they've got everything ready in their possession, they've completed all their certificates and diplomas necessary, let's say for a commercial cookery student, they've completed certificate 3, 4, and even diploma of hospitality management. They've also received their outcome letter from TRA for the provisional skills assessment, but they're stuck because somehow when they've been sitting the PTE or IELTS exam or test, they still cannot. For IELTS, you need 6.0 overall and nothing less than 5.0 in each band. For PTE, you need a score 50 and nothing less than 36 in each band. And sometimes, unfortunately, some students cannot even get to that required results. And so what to do? So I would say that if you're studying, let's say, commercial cookery courses and you've just completed your diploma of hospitality, the option that's available to you to salvage your 485 visa for later is not the end of the world. You could, before your student visa expires, extend your student visa and enroll to study an advanced diploma of hospitality management, because that would enable you to continue further with your studies but still keep yourself safe, to prove to immigration that you've continued to study another course that's still relevantly that can be linked to the previous courses that you've studied, and it's still relevant to the industry that you're studying, which is hospitality, commercial cookery, hospitality management, because it's just another step up. With that, you will study another 6 months of the course, and so the time frame would drag it out for you longer. So long as you get your student visa extended successfully, you continue with the advanced diploma of hospitality management, and at any time that you have managed to reach the score that's required for your IELTS or PTE, you have every chance, every right to then apply for your graduate visa within the 6 months before the completion. You've got a 6 months window from the time that you've completed your diploma of hospitality management, to apply for your graduate visa. So let's say you have enrolled to study advanced diploma of hospitality management, 6 months. So within that time frame while you're studying, you have ample time to work upon your IELTS, get the right score, and then apply. When we apply, you lodge the application online, you wait. So while you're waiting, you still hold a student visa, which is you still are required to continue to study, okay? It's only when they grant you the graduate visa, then the student visa disappears. Now you hold a graduate visa, then you can stop studying, okay? Now there's another situation where students may come across where they have applied for the graduate visa, because they've already received, let's say, no, let me retract that. They have applied just recently for their graduate visa online, but they've just applied for their TRA Provisional Skills Assessment, okay? Because they were running out of time, they're trying to complete their courses, they didn't get their act together, and so in the end they finished the Diploma of Hospitality Management, but so they did not apply before that for the Provisional Skills Assessment when they've completed the Certificate 4 in Commercial Cookery. So they just kept on studying, okay, no problem, and then their student visa was going to expire 1 month later, let's say, after the completion of their Diploma of Hospitality Management. So they did the rush job and then applied to TRA for the Provisional Skills Assessment. So you know that TRA would take around 90 days for them to process the application and grant, issue you with the outcome letter of the TRA PSA. But then the student is running out of time, no worries. So long as you applied for the TRA PSA online to TRA, within a couple of days, you would receive into email the acknowledgement letter from TRA. It's just to say that they've acknowledged that they've received your application for the Provisional Skills Assessment. And that acknowledgement letter emailed to you is enough for you to use to upload online when you applied for your 485 visa application, okay? And that's it. That's all you need from the date that you applied for your TR, your graduate visa. You must have the TRA PSA acknowledgement letter to upload online. If you do that, then you're safe, okay? Because let's say, but you need to know that even though you've uploaded that document online, it doesn't mean much except that it will just keep you safe until a case officer from immigration will open your file online and check through all the documents that you've uploaded when you applied for your graduate visa. So they'll check, you uploaded the academic transcripts and your PT or IELTS score and your passport and all those other required documents. And they've noted that you've also uploaded the TRA PSA acknowledgement letter. So the case officer says, well, that's great. Thank goodness that he or she has uploaded that, but there's no outcome letter just yet. So it seems sometimes that if immigration is faster in opening your application online, faster than TRA in processing your Provisional Skills Assessment, then what's going to happen is immigration will email to you or to us if we do the application for the TR for you on your behalf, advising that they've given you or us 28 days to provide the outcome letter. So now we have that notification from immigration. We'll use that and go back to TRA and chase them up and provide the evidence that immigration is chasing us. Please process the application for Provisional Skills Assessment as soon as possible. So that will keep you safe. It's only when TRA is able to issue you the outcome letter, and only then we'll be able to upload online. That would be the only time when immigration will grant you the 485 visa. They will not grant you the 485 visa successfully if you do not show the outcome letter being successful. Now, we have rare cases that does occur where, for whatever reason, the student applied for their Provisional Skills Assessment on their own. Because if it went through us, we'd know for sure if they would meet the requirements for TRA anyway. And they applied on their own, and then they were waiting. And within 90 days, TRA came back and advised them that it's become unsuccessful. If that is the case, then the client, the student has a problem. They cannot have, they would not be able to show to immigration the successful outcome letter from TRA for the Provisional Skills Assessment, which would mean that sooner or later, immigration will refuse this application because they don't meet the requirements. Okay, so I'll move on to Job Ready program for a short bit. This is mainly for students who have done commercial cookery courses. Like, let's say you've studied Certificate 3 and 4 in commercial cookery, and then the Diploma of Hospitality Management. So it's worth 2 years of your time and effort in Australia. And then, of course, the next step would be that you need to, apart from the Provisional Skills Assessment that you apply for TRA, you apply for your graduate visa. Without applying for the graduate visa, you will not meet the requirement to be able to do your Job Ready program, because apart from other conditions involved, you need to hold a visa that will allow you to work full time. So that's why the natural progression from student visa would be the graduate visa for across the board for mainly all students, yeah? So once you applied for the graduate visa, you wait a couple of months, up to 2 to 3 months. When they grant you the graduate visa, then and only then will you be eligible to then apply and register for the Job Ready program, JRP or JRE, Job Ready Employment. Apart from having that graduate visa in your hand, you need to find a full-time job as a chef, okay? Not as a cook, but as a chef. So whichever way possible, you need to secure full-time employment as a chef. Then, coupled with the 485 visa grant in your hand, you are able to satisfy the requirements to apply to TRA again for the Job Ready program. Register your name down, okay? So there'll be a set fee of like $500, and then from then you start the program. It's usually a 12-month program, but for people who have already been working previously before they've registered for the Job Ready program, they've worked for an employer already in a restaurant somewhere, they could claim 3 months. So you can cheat 3 months off the 12 months. So you can with that, you can provide documentation, a form you need to fill in to claim that you've worked prior to the Job Ready program. And if TRA processes and acknowledges it, then they'll allow you to only do 9 more months worth of the JRP, okay? So with the new changes that TRA has provided, advice that you now do not need to do a monthly journal that you have to upload online to their portal, to your TRA portal. You only do every 3 months, okay? So people ask, what do I need to do? What is that journal that I need to, upload online? It's nothing like rocket science. It's mainly about what you do in your duties every day as a chef at that particular restaurant or cafe, and the equipment that you use. So if you work in a hotel restaurant, they would provide breakfast, lunch and dinner, let's say. So you can put headings at how many breakfasts did you do in each month, and you just times by 3 months. How many dinners, how many lunch, and what equipment, what tools that you use to make the dishes that you made. Okay, that's pretty straightforward, but if you need our help, then come to see me or come and see any of the agents here at Aussizz Group. We're here to help you with that, okay? So literally within that program, 6 months within that program, TRA will get an official or somebody from TRA to come out to assess you. So you'll pay about $2,000 for that luxury of being assessed by them, and to the end of the program itself, there'll be a final assessment. Once you meet all the assessments and you've passed, then and only then will you be able to be provided with the full skills assessment from TRA, and they would recognize you as a qualified chef at that time. Once you have that piece of paper in your hand, then and only then will you be eligible to then lodge application for your EUI, expression of interest, and then you can apply for your PR. Okay. Any other questions, Anna?
Got a few questions, but it's not related to TRA.
Okay. I will try to answer then, just to help out.
There is a question from Parveen Sharma. How many points need for 190 visa invitation for accounting MPA in Perth? I got job offer already.
All right. Well, I'll have to check that with you, but you can follow us up on our Facebook page from Aussizz Group. We usually post that when they do the next rounds of invitation. I think it's coming up very soon, Anna.
This Thursday?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So this Thursday is the next round, so you would know for sure. If you lodge your EUI then already, then good luck to you. But if you've got a job offer letter already, fantastic. Saving to say exactly how many points there are for MPA, I'd say that if you've found a job already, you're nearly there, because WA has invited a lot of graduates on MPA, graduated from Masters of Professional Accounting anyway. Hopefully your skills assessment, you've applied not just general accountant, but as a taxation accountant, because it seems that WA is favouring, inviting people with a skills assessment as a taxation accountant. It doesn't mean that you naturally have to work as a taxation accountant. So even in your employment offer letter, it says as a general accountant, it's still fine. Okay, so keep that in mind, and good luck for you.
Another same, how many points need for a registered nurse in New South Wales? He hasn't mentioned which visa he's asking for.
Okay, so let's talk about that. Registered nurse NEC right now is not on the occupations list for WA for the 190 and 491, so it's only available to you for the 189. Now you mentioned New South Wales, so right now if you want to think about New South Wales, generally you need an offer letter to have any chance. So if you're on a 485 visa, if it's not expiring anytime soon, you need to send out your resumes over there and see if there's anybody who would pick it up and give you a job potentially, or else it's not going to work for you. I would say to you people out there right now, we hear that nearly all the states are very soon shutting their doors on other people from other states who did not live there or did not study there. They're not favouring those people. So wherever you study, wherever you live, it seems that you probably have to try to make the most of what you have. If you're studying in WA right now, then try your best to find enough points to apply for, like I said, even the 189 or the 190 491, because trying to relocate to another state is a big deal, a big issue for a lot of people, and they do tend to come back to their old state where they live and where they resided before, because so many issues come up, and it's not that easy to relocate, and it's not easy to find jobs when you haven't been residing there or studying there. It seems to me that different states are favouring their own people, residents over there, and so it's not that easy for you to migrate and stuff, or even move over there to find PR pathway for you. Okay, so be careful.
Vishal is asking, hi, how about the skills assessment for network technician job?
I'm not too sure about that. But there's such thing as, if you studied advanced diploma of telecommunications at one of those, let's say from NIT in Perth, then it seems to me that Engineers Australia is the relevant skills assessment authority body for that. You need to get that successfully, skills assessed from the course that you studied. Like if you did a diploma of IT and then advanced diploma of telecommunications, the relevant occupation that come out of that would be the telecommunications network technician, and that's still on the list for the 189. So if you want to know further about that, make an appointment to see me. I can discuss with you further. It's not a simple thing to do to get your PR.
Pritama is asking, what is chance of getting 491 from Perth with job offer? Graduated from Sydney MPA.
Right, because WA favours people who study it and live here and try and find a job here. So, of course you can migrate over here, and then if you find a job. But did you study here at all? So if you can advise me if you did.
She graduated from Sydney.
So no. So you wouldn't be able to meet the requirements.
Another one is from Ruchi Hardik Patel. She's asking, I just finished cookery certificate 4, so what I have to do next? You
can come and see me first.
As I'm on bridging visa right now.
Oh, why are you on bridging visa?
Maybe she applied for 485 already.
No. It could be that have you just extended your student visa? Yeah. And because your student visa, for whatever reason, it could be that when you originally came over to Australia to study a particular course, and then you changed your course of enrollment, and then, of course, while you're studying the commercial cookery courses, your student visa would be expiring because it was because of the effective from the previous course that you were studying and you changed out, let's say. So I can only guess that you, unless you're listening to me right now, please answer and give us more details. But I can only guess that you've just recently applied for a student visa extension and you're on bridging visa.
She applied for RSMS and got refusal.
Dear, okay. So you're on a bridging visa A, I believe, which means that you still can study if you want to, all right? Now, you're doing certificate 4 in commercial cookery. Then you should, and I believe you got refusal. So are you on AAT perhaps? Hopefully, if you are on AAT, you're appealing the decision from the refusal of the RSMS. I hoped for you that you will, be successful later on when you go to the AAT hearing and you provide evidentiary documents, whatever, to convince the AAT member that you are still genuine in that application for the RSMS. Now, if the AAT member saves you, it would literally mean that they will have to tell immigration to, to grant you the relative visa. Now, if you fail at the AAT, then you do not.
AAT.
Huh?
She's on AAT right
You're on AAT. So I wish you luck with AAT. I don't know what your situation is, but you need, because right now you're only holding a bridging visa A. You do not hold a substantive visa. So let's say, but then you applied, you're studying, so certificate 3 and certificate 4 in commercial cookery perhaps. You need to finish up to diploma of hospitality and management if you want to become a chef. But then even then, if you need to get onto a visa that will allow you to work full time for you to be able to do the job ready program. Okay, your situation is a bit tricky, but I suggest strongly that you make an appointment to see me to give me the full details, and then we'll figure out what other avenues we can try to give you another way to get your PR. Okay.
She's also asking, so am I eligible to do job ready program in cookery?
Okay, I'm just thinking RSMS. So if it is that you're on AAT for RSMS, you have full-time work rights. Can you please advise? Because with full-time work rights on AAT, right, because you applied for RSMS, and even though immigration has refused that application, but are you on full-time work rights? If you're on full-time work rights, then technically you're able to do the job ready program. Okay, with that you must still continue to study. So finish a Cert 4, go on the Diploma of Hospitality Management course and finish that, and hoping that AAT has not opened your file anytime soon, so that you still have the chance to do the job ready program. Okay. Yeah.
She got full-time work.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So it's good news. So I can advise you that with that you have the chance to do. You have your full-time work rights. You have the chance to do the job ready program. Okay.
Next one is from Murray. What about people doing the JRP with TRA for center manager? Will that skills assessment be useful?
Okay, so thank you for mentioning this, because it will apply to so many students out there who are in the middle or nearly finishing your early childhood education and care diploma. So in the past, which is not just only recently that there's a new change that happened, but in the past you would know that once you finish your course of certificate 3 and diploma in early childhood, you apply for the provisional skills assessment from TRA, and then you apply for your graduate visa, and then they require you to do the job ready program for 1 year. If you manage to find a job as a childcare center manager, then and only then would you be able to do the job ready program through TRA. Okay, and that was that. But last year, only recently, a few months ago, that there was a major change that occurred where TRA no longer is the accepted skills assessment authority body for childcare centre manager for the job ready program, and they've moved to ACECQA, and this new skills assessment authority body has taken over. With this, they've increased from 1 year of doing that, the job ready program as you would understand it, to now 3 years worth that you need to do. So you need to find a job and work 3 years before you can be considered as a childcare centre manager. So on the surface, and I think realistically, for students graduating now, it's going to be nearly impossible for you to find that when you hold a student visa, and in the for the purpose of graduate visa as such, they will only grant you a graduate visa worth only 18 months, 1.5 years to stay in Australia to be able to work full time. When ASECA has required now that you need to show 3 years of working as a childcare centre manager for them to give you the full skills assessment for you to use this to apply for your PR. So how can this work? Unfortunately, it does not work easily for the graduates coming from studying at TAFE or, or in the international colleges out there. The only thing that this could be done potentially is if you have a spouse who would be able to save you, that before your graduate visa expires, he or she applies for student visa and they study, let's say, a master's course. I did mention this in my previous Facebook posts before a few months ago, and I'll say it again. This is the only way that I could think of to give you an idea how this could potentially work for you if you still want to pursue PR pathway as a childcare centre manager. That you need a full skills assessment as a childcare centre manager, but you need to have full-time work rights and clock up 3 years full-time as working in a childcare centre for you to be considered as a childcare centre manager. So let's say, go back to the idea that your spouse applies for student visa and applies and he or she studies a master's course. Now the master's course, why I mention this, because if the student visa is granted to your spouse and the spouse is studying a master's course at the university, then you, being the dependent, are able to work full time. If the spouse studies bachelor's or diploma course, whatever, no, you will not be able to have a chance, be eligible to have the right to work full time. Only the spouse studying master's course or PhD, yeah? So with that, if the spouse is granted the student visa for, let's say, 2 years to study a master's course, then you have already clocked up, let's say, potentially 1.5 years. You need to clock up another 1.5 more years to be able to get a full skills assessment from ASECA as a childcare centre manager. Then you can run away and lodge your EUIs for the 189 visa. So it's a long winding road, and it can be flawed in so many ways because you are at the mercy of, let's say, the employer, who knows that they need to keep you in employment for that long period of time. So be careful of that, yeah? So, but my main point that I'd like to always ask students who graduate from early childhood, like, you complete your diploma of early childhood and care, education and care, how realistic is it that you will be able to find a job immediately as a childcare centre manager? Okay, you ask yourself that, because that's the real deal. Not as a team leader as such. In the past, you would hear stories of people getting their PR through RSMS as a team leader, but now it's getting more stringent, and it would not be considered only as either assistant director of a childcare centre or not even assistant manager. It has to be a childcare centre manager, okay? So be careful.
So if during that change happened, if someone was already doing JRP, then is there grandfathering, like are they exempted?
I think so, yes. If you were still on the job ready if you're on the job ready program through TRA as a childcare centre manager, then they will still honour it, I believe. It's still fine. Okay, you're still safe.
Another one from Zach. I have completed my master's in ICT from Victoria, but I'm planning to do a Cert 3-4 and diploma in carpentry from WA on my TR visa. Would there be a problem if I shift from master's to a trade course?
Okay, so does it mean that, so you're on graduate visa. A graduate visa itself is still fine. It's like, I would consider it as your slate being swept clean after you apply for your graduate visa, and then they grant you the graduate visa. Now while you're on graduate visa, let's say, and then you're studying these courses and you want to become a carpenter, yeah? Now, be careful. Let's talk it through step by step. While you are studying, it will eat into the time that you're here on a graduate visa. Now, I believe you would have a 2-year graduate visa and if you did it, if you enrolled immediately once you're granted your 485 visa, but keep in mind that this carpentry course is worth 2 years of your time. By the time that you complete your carpentry course, your graduate visa will expire. So, of course, even if you apply for a student visa anytime now, while you're studying, right, or at the end, it doesn't make sense to me, because if you apply for your student visa now, then and they grant you a student visa for you to, you say you want to study this course, so they grant you the student visa, then you'll lose your full-time work rights, and you have to study full-time. But then they'll give you only up to the COE end date of your certificate in carpentry or whatever. But then what happens then? What happens after that? Did you realize that the certificates of carpentry, like any other certificates, like when people study commercial cookery or study early childhood, they need to find PR pathway, you need a full skills assessment. Okay, so you study carpentry. But for carpentry, to be able to get the full skills assessment under your belt, you need to work full time as a carpenter, yeah? For you to get the full skills assessment. But if you've already used up your TR time to study these 2 years worth of carpentry course, once that's squandered, you cannot seek another 485 visa to go onto a full-time work rights like another graduate visa. No, you've used up the 485. That's once in a lifetime of anybody being granted the 485 visa, yeah? So which means what happens then? You have the certificates in your hand at the end of 2 years, but you cannot even use that for PR because you haven't had the luxury of finding another visa, like a graduate visa, to allow you to stay back in Australia to find a job as a carpenter. So where will you be? So you have to consider that. Please come and see me and I'll explain to you further. Okay? I think that will be all for today. Thank you for following us and following me, and I'll see you next time.